And we're back. Tom Gibson, Chuck Augustin, and you're in Nye County. Okay, Chuck, when we dropped off, we were discussing where we got down to then.
Well, you're taken into jail, let's say. The judge decides whether to go ahead or just, release you at that point based on probable cause. If it's substantiated by the police, what's it called? Not the police report, the police.
Oh, the declaration of arrest.
The notes, okay, declaration of arrest. Now, if you're taken in on a Friday, let's say, and they decide to, carry it through to the initial arraignment, you could be there till Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing is, first of all, we haven't mentioned this yet. When you're in a situation and you have to, if you're the victim or you're an accused, deal with law enforcement, always be respectful. Yes, sir, no, sir. Keep it short and sweet. And I say because those brevity and respect will. And even if you don't respect the cop, you respect the badge from the state that issued it. Then you're going to really minimize a lot of the problems you're going to have, because quite often in Memphis they had a really funny expression when I was with the federal PD there. The local cops there used to say, "You'll beat the rap, but you won't beat the ride." So you get smart with a cop, they'll arrest you, they'll bring you down, they'll ruin your night. You're going to spend the night in jail with a bunch of thugs, and you'll be released. If you're lucky the next day, but more often it'll be like a few days later. And a cop that doesn't like you is going to put you on is going to arrest you on a Friday night, and it's not just the next day. You won't see a judge until they say Monday or Tuesday. And anyway, that said, don't get yourself in a position though where you're going to be arrested. Just discretion being the better part of valor. Shut up. Just keep your mouth shut. Not only to preserve your rights and keep minimize anything that they could use against you, but also is that a loudmouth person is more likely to get hooked up and taken down to jail under what they call the son of a bitch rule.
We got Louis on the phone. Louis, give it to us.
Hello, gentlemen. How you doing tonight?
Good.
Listen, I got a question. How do you guys feel, about the fact that the Pahrump Justice Court Department A has had temporary justices of the peace from Las Vegas and Beatty filling in for approximately the last 7 or 8 months? And don't you, me personally, I think that we need somebody from Pahrump to be a Pahrump Justice of the Peace, not have people filling in from other towns and counties, because the fact when they come in, some of these judges can't stay too long, and it actually hurts a defendant's rights, because now all their charges and all the problems are put on hold, and their cases are being dragged out. What's your opinion on that? I'll let you guys talk about that. Thank you.
Well, my opinion is that, yeah, you're correct. There should be a judge, and the judge should be from Pahrump. I mean, because if the judge isn't local, if anything, I don't know what the judges charge for mileage, but that, historically they can charge for mileage. Although I don't, it's discretionary. I mean, there are some judges that, traveling judges in smaller communities that enjoy just judging, and so the gas and mileage and any of the other costs that come out of their pocket, they don't mind paying for. However, for expediency, and the thing is we need to find somebody that is going to take care of the job and fill the gap until either the next election or I guess, yeah, it's the next general election if that's what the commission decides to do. So the commission does have the authority to appoint a judge interim. I was asked by a couple of people if I would be interested, but quite frankly, I was honored by the request, but I just can't do this at that time of my life. I'll wait till I'm as old as Chuck, and then I can consider it.
For me, the key issue is get someone as quick as possible who is absolutely going to be as fair as possible. And fairness is such a lost art, it seems, in government. And as fast as possible is absolutely a lost art. So I really think the commissioner and the DA, or whatever the issues are behind the scenes, they need to resolve it, and they can resolve it quick. And everyone keeps saying, well, you know, the federal rules or the state rules, or blah, blah, blah. Oh, come on, guys. I mean, if we lived our lives like government did, we wouldn't even go to the food store to get food, and we'd die because of hunger. So make it, either make your decision and make it as fast as you can. Okay.
Well, if you do that, though, I mean, because you want to have a host of applicants, and I don't care if the person's even from Vegas as long as they're going to move here.
Well, yeah.
But what you want is the main thing in all my years is being an attorney. The most important thing a judge can be is to have judicial demeanor, to be judge-like, you know, and not get up there and act silly and crack jokes all the time. To have some, you know, decorum, but have, you know, crack a joke when it's appropriate. And Judge Lane's good at that. Judge Lane, you know, will crack a joke because I mean, there's nothing more. I used to describe, you know, court is like. Normal courthouse is like a mausoleum, but it's that droll. But the family courts are more like hospice. You're just waiting and waiting and waiting to die, or you know, for the marriage to die. And but in either case, you need somebody that's going to be that has good demeanor and has a grasp on the law. And the problem with one of our recently prior judges is this guy was an attorney for many years, but when he took the bench, seems like he'd forgotten everything that he ever learned, because people were treated viciously in there. People were put in jail unlawfully. Sentences were done unlawfully. He would put a guy in jail for, let's say, 6 months, and then let him out 30 days later and say, okay, now go do this. You can't do that. Once a sentence is imposed, the judge, you can't change the sentence, but he did. And then what he would do, though, is then he would impose like 6 months on the guy, and then every time the person screwed up, and these are like public defender clients who are like notorious for not following the rules, and you know, they over and over and over, they couldn't help it, but they'd screw up somehow. They wouldn't pay the fines on time, or they wouldn't pay the restitution, or they wouldn't go to their court-ordered counseling. Whatever it was, if they didn't do it, Ron would put them in jail for 25 days for contempt, and let them back out, and then they'd screw up again. And every time they get put in jail for contempt, that's contempt, a separate issue in itself. So you get 0 credit toward that 6 months, and these guys were doing 3 years on a 6-month sentence, and I'm not kidding. Well, I mean, figuratively, but that's what it would have amounted to had he remained judge.
Amy, what you got for us?
Well, you know, I'm listening, of course, and talking about the speed limits earlier, and talking about Judge Kent right now, kind of ties this all together. And by the way, the speed limit is for the town only, not for the county.
Thank you.
State highways. Pardon me. Now that we know that there's been some improper tickets written, and some people, you know, probably paid their tickets right away, while others that I was involved with, for example, when I was a CASA, these are real problems for some people, because they were literally being rehabilitated and had nothing but assistance from the state. They didn't have extra money to go pay a ticket like they got in front of the senior center or one of these other places. So they got fines for not paying the ticket. And then when they couldn't pay the fine, they got a bench warrant, and on and on. So what are these people going to do now that were charged for these for speeding when they weren't really speeding? And what are these people that were before Judge Kent going to do for these improper judgments held against them for improper imprisonment?
Well, you could, yeah. That's up to the person's attorneys, and if their attorneys didn't do anything, there's not a lot you can do. And the problem too with a lot of the situation with Judge Kent putting people in jail unlawfully, the remedy isn't what you would think. It's not like, you know, dismissal of the case. It's sanctioning the judge. You know, I mean, what's done is done. And I suppose theoretically they could go back and give the person credit toward the contempt time against the original sentence, but as long as the sentence itself was lawful, you're not supposed to go back and change that. It is what it is. And if you appeal it, you can change it, but again, you appeal, and then the thing is, appeal work is difficult, it's time consuming, it's usually, it's a crapshoot, because even if a judge is wrong, they have to be, you know, clearly in error, and the marginal things will never be held against them. So anybody that feels that they've been wrongly convicted, you only have so much time to have those overturned as well. Otherwise, if it goes past 2 years, you're done. There's no going back, and that's after you've exhausted your remedies in the state system. So I'm talking about you have to go all the way. If you appeal something to the district court and then to the Supreme Court, and then you can start. Then you can actually file what's called post-conviction relief, which can go back and try to undo that conviction. But you can't do that until you've appealed the underlying matter to the Supreme Court.
Well, this morning, and going forward with all of this morning, our Commissioner, Donna Cox, recommended, and it was, I guess, passed to the staff, that they write a letter to the district attorney's office, to the sheriff's office, she was present, by the way, and to the judges, and then the officers, the deputies, would be advised to these areas so they wouldn't write any more tickets in those areas. So let's say that somebody's out tomorrow. Would that go into effect when the departments get their letters, or would that go into effect today?
It goes into effect at the time the commission passes the measure. So if you were to get a ticket tomorrow or the next day, if you know what's going on, you say to the cop, "Oh, yo, this street sign's been, or the speed limit's been changed here," and then hopefully will call his supervisor and request, "Oh, got to take a break. I'll get right back on this when we return."